many people believe that the pre-tribulation rapture is taught in Revelation 4:1, where John says he hears a voice like a trumpet saying to him, "Come up here, and I will show you what must take place after these things." According to Rapturists, we've been moving through 7 periods of church history over the 7 churches of Revelation 2 and 3. That is, the Ephesus represents the period from about 30 to 100, and then Smyrna represents 100 to about 313. And this goes on until you get to Laodicea, which supposedly begins at about the year 1900 and goes up to the present. And then you get in Revelation 4:1, and John is called into heaven, and this represents the termination of the church age. John is symbolically representing the whole church being raptured into heaven. Now, there are several problems here. The first of which is the arbitrary assigning of these church ages. The text did not tell you that the 7 churches represent a sequence of periods in church history. Moreover, who decides where one particular period ends and another one begins? This seems extremely arbitrary, and some of these periods are much longer than other periods. For example, Ephesus is about 70 years, and then you look at Thyatira, and it's nearly 1,000 years to cover the so-called Dark Ages, a way of thinking about that period that most church historians have left behind. And notice how it's very Western-centric. That is, it's from the perspective of the Catholic West and the Protestant West, and it does not consider the Eastern Orthodox Church. So extremely arbitrary, and different versions of the church age theory, they don't agree with each other. Saying that John, being called into heaven, he says he goes up in the spirit, not in the body. He receives a vision and he comes back. To say that that is the rapture of the church is, again, completely arbitrary. You just have to make this up. He doesn't say it's the rapture of the church. There's nothing in the text to indicate this. And prophets going into the presence of God or being called up into heaven, this doesn't represent the rapture at any other point. Paul says he's caught up into heaven several times. Enoch goes. Various prophets go. Isaiah goes. How come that doesn't represent the rapture of an entire group of people? How could it just be that this takes place here in Revelation 4? Well, the way they're going to justify this is to say that after John goes into heaven, symbolically representing the departure of the church, this is validated because in the following chapters, especially the chapters that have the plagues, the word church is not going to show up. It's not going to show up again until we get to the end of the book in chapter 22, verse 16. And so from this, you're supposed to infer that the church is missing from the world. But this does not work. This is the word concept fallacy. To suggest that the word ekklesia is not in the text, and therefore the concept of the church is absent, is to not regard other language that John uses of Christians. I'll just give you a few examples. Revelation 12:17 says, "Then the dragon became furious with the woman and went off to make war on the rest of her offspring, on those who keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus." Now, on any other day, if you were not already committed to this system of doctrine, those who hold to the testimony of Jesus would be an obvious reference to the church. And they'll often say that when you see the word saints, that this, for whatever reason, doesn't represent those who will reign with Jesus, that this is a reversion back to the Jewish people, that it refers to people who inhabit the modern state of Israel. But here's the problem. John defines who the saints are for us in a number of places, such as in Revelation 14:12, where he said, "Here is a call for the endurance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God, and their faith in Jesus." And they often tell us that Mystery Babylon, the prostitute, that she persecutes the modern state of Israel. But it's interesting what is said about her. "And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the witnesses of Jesus. When I saw her, I marveled greatly." So this is just a sampling of language that is clearly in reference to the followers of Jesus, who are mentioned in nearly every chapter of Revelation, who are being targeted by the persecution program of the beast and the harlot. So what do we make of the absence of the word ekklesia? Well, not much, especially after you understand how John uses this word. So New Testament writers will use ekklesia, church, in one of two ways. Sometimes it refers to the local church, that is, the local congregation. And some writers use this word to refer to the universal body of believers wherever they are in the world. Now, interestingly, John does not use that word to refer to the universal body of believers. In fact, he doesn't use the word ecclesia all that much at all. It does not occur even once in John's gospel. It does not occur in 1 John. It does not occur in 2 John. It occurs 3 times in 3 John in relationship to the local congregation. Then in Revelation 1 through 3, it's used 19 times to refer to the 7 local congregations in Asia Minor. And then at the close of the book, Jesus says that this book is to be sent for concerning the churches, that is, those same 7 churches that are mentioned in the first 3 chapters of the book. Not one time anywhere in John's writings does he use the word church to refer to the universal body of believers. As we've seen, he uses terms like saints and those who hold to the testimony of Jesus. Now, this is significant for us because what happens in Revelation chapter 4? Well, the book stops talking about local congregations and it begins to talk on a world scale. It begins to use universal language. We run into, for example, plagues that target 1/3 of the world and 2/3 of the world. And the beast requires that all those who live upon the face of the planet to worship his image, and he puts to death anyone who's unwilling to do so. Since Revelation 4 and beyond have a universal concern, they're concerned with the whole world, of course you're not going to find the word church. John never, in any of his writings, uses the word church to refer to the universal body of believers. That's something that Paul does, right? This is not the way John uses the word. So he's going to use terms like saints and those who hold to the faith of Jesus. You should not expect, when he's writing with a universal scope, that he should use the word ekklesia. He only uses it for local congregations, and therefore it is completely unsurprising and insignificant that he does not use the word ekklesia after Revelation 3.